Chapter 24 Unbreakable Commitments. If I asked you what a commitment is, how would you answer? Most people say it's something you will do. And when they say that, they mean something they will probably do, intend to do, or might do. For example, how many times have you told someone you would send them some information on Tuesday, then wake up early Wednesday and send it then, thinking, well, that's close enough. After all, it's practically still Tuesday, and Wednesday hasn't even started yet. Or you're set to meet someone for coffee at 10 a.m. You forgot to allow extra time to park and roll up at 10:03. Again, you think, well, close enough. I didn't know there would be traffic. How about when you randomly bump into an old colleague on the street? After a greeting and some small talk, you say, I'll give you a ring and we'll catch up for lunch one day. Yet you both know you have no intention of actually doing that. All these are examples of failed commitments. The actual definition of commitment, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, is a promise or firm decision to do something. That means that it's something you're 100% going to follow through and do. Anything else is a failed commitment. In the first two examples, try reversing the positions. If someone promises to send you something one day and you get it the next morning, what do you think? Or if someone is a few minutes late to a business meeting, do you notice? Personally, I have a little scorecard in my head for any given person. If they miss a commitment, they lose a tiny bit of trust on my scorecard. I may never bring it up, but on a certain level, I'm evaluating people on their character. To me, making a commitment and not following through demonstrates a lack of integrity, and is the same for a lot of high-level leaders. Even if they don't show it, they take notice of these things in order to evaluate people's integrity. The good news is, when you do deliver what you say you'll do, you'll get a positive on the scorecard by simply living up to expectations. In this chapter, we're going to get clear on making unbreakable commitments and how this will strengthen not only your leadership, but your relationship to yourself, your relationship with others, and the culture of your team. In most cases, we'll do this by making a lot fewer commitments where we'll get crystal clear on what those commitments are and are not. People who have been through my courses and masterminds find that tightening up their commitments is one of the fastest, strongest wins available. We've established that a commitment is not something that you might do or sort of do. What else is a commitment not? A commitment is not a goal. A goal is something you hope to do that's usually aspirational. A commitment is something you absolutely will do, and you know that you can reasonably make that happen. I once had a new marketing assistant. Each time I assigned him a task, he would ask me when I wanted it done by. I would ask him by when he could commit to doing it. He would then tell me a day, and I would say, that's fine. 3 times in a row, we went through that process, and each time, on the day it was due, he would get all flustered and tell me, I can't get it done by today. I need more time. After the 3rd time, I stopped him and we had a talk. I gave him my commitment speech and told him that he wasn't giving me his commitment date. He was giving me his goal date. He wanted to get things done by that date and was probably giving me an earlier date to try to impress me. Can you see how he was making things difficult for himself and eroding the trust that I had in him? To his credit, he took that on board and changed his behavior. After that, he gave me realistic commitments and hit every one, and my trust in him grew and grew. It can be funny to see how people make commitments without thinking them through first. Say I'm a coaching client and they want me to get into shape. Here's what the conversation might look like. Client, I'm ready to get back into running. Me, okay, so what will you commit to? Client, easy. I'll run an hour a day, every day for the next 2 weeks. Me, wow, that's amazing. So when's the last time you ran or worked out at all? Client, it's been a while, probably 2 years. Me, if that's the case, an hour a day may be overdoing it, don't you think? Client, Yeah, probably. Me. Also, tell me, over the next 2 weeks, do you have anything planned? Client. Ah, yes. Next week, I go to Frankfurt for a yearly conference. Me. Interesting. Will you be busy at the conference? Client. Yes, it's all consuming from the minute I wake up till late at night. Me. So, you may not be able to work out every single day for the next 2 weeks, will you? This is actually a very common scenario. People want to push themselves and make aspirational proclamations when it comes to commitments. However, being unrealistic only leads to anxiety, broken promises, and lack of trust. When you're making a commitment, think about what you'll need to do in order to fulfill it. Are you very busy? If so, have you set a realistic timeline? What will you have to take off your plate or rearrange? Is that truly in your control? Are you leaving any slack time if an emergency pops up or if things don't go to plan? If not, start to do that so your commitments become real. This is something you can and should teach your team as well. If you want high performance, your team needs to learn to make rock solid commitments and then deliver on them. Otherwise, the culture of trust you want just won't develop. Of course, this all starts with you and applies to the little things. A CEO hired me to run a strategy session with them. They sent over a packet of their plans and goals so I could get up to speed with what they've been doing. As we sat down to start, I said, "Before we get too far into planning, I have a question about what you sent me." "What's that?" asked the CEO. "One of your core values is tight. What does that mean?" I inquired. "Aha," said the CEO. "That means, for example, everyone is always prepared. Everyone is always on time. We run things tight." Then I asked the CEO, "Would you describe yourself as tight?" "Of course," he said. "Well, you were 10 minutes late to our last call, and the one before that you flat out missed," I reminded him. "Okay," he admitted sheepishly. "I'm not tight. That's why I need everybody else to be tight to make up for me." I appreciate what he was trying to do, and maybe you can see yourself in his story, but leadership doesn't work this way. If you ask your team to be on time, yet you are late, that creates an inherent distrust and disrespect. On top of that, it's unlikely they'll be on time, and it sure isn't leading by example. One of the reasons leadership is so difficult is that you're held to a different standard. By virtue of your position, whenever you make a misstep, is magnified 1,000 times. If you're in a bad mood for just one day, you might get labeled as grumpy. If you snap at someone, people will be on edge for weeks. If someone sees you giving somebody a break and they don't know all the backstory, they may think you're playing favorites. You need to get your head around this fact as a leader. You're going to have to embody what you expect even more than what you expect from your team if you want to be a highly effective leader. And this always starts with your commitments. With all that said, even with the best intentions, sometimes you won't be able to fulfill your commitments. For example, if you commit to working out for 30 minutes every day and then you break your arm, you promise to speak at a conference and later someone passes away and you want to attend a funeral, or the big project you're managing runs into an unexpected obstacle, you're likely going to miss your commitment and you need to address it. In cases like these, it's time to renegotiate the commitment. Renegotiation is when you contact whoever you made the agreement with, explain the situation, and come up with an alternate plan. The most important aspects of renegotiating any commitment are: do it in a timely manner. This means reaching out as soon as you know that you won't be able to fulfill the commitment or the deadline is in jeopardy. This does not mean you wait until after the deadline's been missed. Take full ownership and responsibility. Don't make excuses or blame others. Just lay out the facts. And if it's an issue you or your team should have known about or that you caused, own that. Have a suggested plan for what to do next. This puts everybody in a forward-looking mode instead of a "why did this happen" mindset, and shows that you've thought about how to rectify things proactively. When you follow these 3 steps, you'll find that almost no one has an issue with the renegotiation, and they may even respect you more for the way you've handled it. As long as whatever comes up wasn't for lack of trying or something you could have reasonably predicted, I don't think of a renegotiation as a failed commitment. It's just an adjustment to the original agreement. A few other points about commitments. A commitment should be something that's either done or not done. If there's any gray area, it's not a commitment. On this basis, the following are not commitments. I'll call you soon. I'll get that to you by next week. I'll do a better job next time. These, on the other hand, are commitments. I'll call you by 2 p.m. tomorrow. I'll make sure there are no grammar or math errors in the proposal next time. I'll get that to you by the close of business next Wednesday. Note, close of business means 5 p.m. in the time zone of the person you're committing to. Commitments made to ourselves are just important as the ones we make to others. Remember, everything we're learning here can be applied to others as well as ourselves. In this case, we're referring to your internal commitments. How often have you heard about a good book and said to yourself, "Wow, I have to read this book"? I could fill a room from top to bottom with all the books I told myself I have to read and never have. These are all failed internal agreements. To tighten this up, make a simple change in your language so that what was an internal commitment becomes a statement of potential. For example, say to yourself, "Hey, that looks like an interesting book. If I think of it, maybe I'll read it one day." Or, "I'll put that book on my reading list." In both statements, you acknowledge the book without creating a promise to yourself you probably won't keep. Remember, when you create agreements with others, and especially with yourself, and don't keep them, it creates internal stress and saps your energy. It's better to create far fewer commitments and keep them than to make more and keep fewer. As a leader, you have more on your plate than you know what to do with. By picking and choosing commitments, you're strengthening your integrity and spending more time on what's important. Instead of, "Hey, good seeing you again. Let's meet for coffee soon," say, "Hey, good seeing you again." Instead of, "I have to lose that XX pounds," say, "I'm going to work out at least once a week," or "I'm going to find an accountability group for getting in shape." Instead of, "I'll get that to you tomorrow," say, "I'll get that to you by Friday of next week by noon." Instead of, "I'll send you the name of that podcast," say, "If you want the name of that podcast and can't find it, send me an email." Save yourself from yet one more thing on your to-do list. As you can probably tell, I put a lot of stock in commitments. I worked hard for a few months to get very strong in mine. As a member of Entrepreneurs Organization and later on the local board of directors, I got to interact with a lot of fellow business owners.